Time for another installment in Mobile Games Month, which I have just randomly decided it is this month, even though this block will definitely roll into December. Who cares? We're going to dive into this and talk about the mobile games I've managed to keep on my phone, despite mobile games' penchant for doing everything in their power to be as lame, uninteresting, broken, and overly monetized as they can be. So I am very pleased today to show a mobile game that I've actually had a ton of fun with and haven't put down a penny on as of yet. Today, we're busting out the BFG and storming the gates of hell in Mighty Doom. Let's do this. Greetings everyone, this is the Hipster Snek, and I feel the need to stress that none of these videos this month are actually sponsored videos. I know mobile games are known for that, but no, I'm doing these reviews on my own volition, and I'm not even getting paid for it. I don't know what that says about me, but it says something. Anyway, released in May of 2023, Mighty Doom hit Apple and Android devices as a spin-off title from Alpha Dog Games and Bethesda. The difference is that this takes more inspiration from arcade-style shooters and roguelites, and since I love both those things, when I had the chance to give it a whirl, I found myself enjoying it quite a bit. You pilot a toy-like mini-slayer, destroying more cartoony but no less bloody demons that populate the stages in rapid-fire fashion. In fact, let's start as we always do, with the aesthetics of the game. I gotta say, I love the graphical direction. While ideas from Doom 2016 and Eternal are definitely present, the game is very stylized. The Slayer and the demons have large heads and smaller limbs, giving them a very doll-like appearance, and everything that isn't supposed to be rusted or dilapidated has a kinda faux plastic sheen to it. It's all very nice. Also, the music is just really good. I mean, it's Doom music. What more do you need me to explain here? Plus, I love the Broforce-esque boss introduction sequences, where this deep, gruff announcer comes out of nowhere and shouts the boss's name for you as you enter the arena with them. It adds a campy quality to a game that's already very clearly not taking itself terribly seriously to start, and I adore that decision. Alright, let's get into the gore and viscera that makes up this game. To begin with, this will probably be the simplest game I've ever reviewed in terms of how one controls it. You tap to navigate the menus to the action portion, then swipe the virtual control stick in order to move. Your regular weapons auto-fire, and your secondary and special weapons have warm-up periods before you can use them by tapping their icons when they're ready to go. That's it, seriously. Well, I'm underselling that a little bit. There is a good deal more strategy to it than just that. See, there's bombs or destroyable walls and levels that you can use to your advantage, or various environmental hazards to avoid while you're dealing with the enemies. Also, sometimes the demons just decide to take a page out of Zun's book and go full bullet hell on you, and you need to learn to dodge quickly. I do not know what is the deal with the sine wave pattern in gaming, but it's way more frustrating to dodge than it has any right to be. That said, enemies, when defeated, will sometimes flash green, indicating that you can perform one of Doom's favorite mechanics, a glory kill. Simply walk into them, and watch the Slayer make quick work out of them, and regain some of his HP for the trouble. Now, that may not sound like much, and on its face, I can see how that might sound too simple. However, what makes this compelling is the sheer amount of customization involved. You can use all sorts of different weapons and loadouts, and each one has some different potential power-ups for you to gain in each run. See, as said, this is a roguelite at its core, so some measure of failure is expected on the player's part. As you go through each mission, you gain experience points in traditional RPG fashion. Then, upon hitting the next level up and clearing the current room, you're prompted to pick from one of 3 possible power-ups that affect your weapons and Slayer in myriad ways for the rest of the run. The standard rifle, for example, can gain sideways shots or a W-fire option, or both at the same time. Then you can modify it further still with things like bounce and ricochet, which make the storm of bullets you're pumping out cause even more havoc. And that's just one example. There's so much more than that because you always have 4 weapons on board at any given time. You'll always have a main weapon, a secondary weapon, an ultimate weapon, and a launcher-type weapon. While the main and launcher weapons will fire automatically, they can still be modified extensively in this same fashion. At the same time, you'll also be decked out in essentially 5 pieces of armor. Your suit grants you certain perks passively, and then your stats are augmented by whatever helmet, gloves, breastplate, and boots you equip at the same time. There are also different rarities of each of these items and weapons, as is to be expected, and you want higher rarity gear in general as it unlocks additional perks and has higher stats and caps. That said, don't despair. Getting 3 copies of the same item at the same rarity allows you to fuse them into one new copy of the next rarity level up. So, if you really love a particular weapon, you can keep it forever and just keep powering it up over time. All of this will determine your playstyle and your stats, as you'll come to receive tokens to upgrade all of these things just by playing the game. You also have an overall level, which determines all gear level caps, and that goes up also just by playing the game. Likewise, you'll unlock a series of randomly decided passive perks with each level up, including basic things like more damage or more HP, making more and more survivable each time. Once you have your gear and you powered up as much as you possibly can, it's time to delve into gameplay proper. And there's 2 main modes, the campaign mode and the event mode. Campaign mode is precisely what you're thinking. You play through, kill demons, and try to go as far as you can in each new run. Event mode refreshes every day and contains seasonal missions with particular themes and gimmicks, and usually some play on the word slay or slayer involved for those seasonal ones. For example, during the 4th of July event, it was "Oh Slay Can You See," and there was a speedrun event where you needed to clear the levels as quickly as you could, and glory kills would net you a few precious extra seconds to the rapidly depleting timer. Sometimes the events can be a bit simpler than that, such as ones where enemies might use a particular damage type. Right, I forgot that, didn't I? Elemental damage is in this game, and the game is very handy at alerting you to what enemies are weak to what. Taking advantage of this is a good way to build up damage, especially as some weapons can pick up an element as an upgrade mid-run. For example, my beloved super shotgun can become attuned to fire damage, but here's the cool part. Weapons that do this will maintain both types of damage, and the type that deals higher damage is what will be calculated. That sounds a little complex, but let me break it down like this. The shotgun usually deals bullet element damage. I mean, no duh, right? But if I add the fire damage mod, it will then deal bullet damage to demons weaker to bullets, and fire damage to those who are more weak to fire. Spiffy, no? So a wide roster of weapons with lots of possible damage types can go a long way. And yeah, that's the game. It's a mobile game. Were you expecting a particularly complex experience? This isn't Fate Grand Order, you know. So yeah, let's talk about the elephants in the room, as it is in fact a mobile game. It suffers 2 very common mobile game issues, and they do deserve to be addressed in the name of objectivity. The first is the one that really actually annoyed me and directly impacted my time spent in the game. It uses an energy system. You have 20 energy, and any run, regardless of type, costs 5 energy to do. It takes a long time to regain this energy too, because of course it does. There doesn't seem to be any way to replenish this energy outside of waiting either. I cannot articulate how much I hate when games do this. I absolutely despise it. And you want to know why it exists? I've talked about this before in brief, but the real reason is it's a psychological trick. By making it so that you can't marathon run the game for hours and hours, the game tries to trick you instead into making the game something you do out of habit, making you play in short bursts instead. It's manipulative and completely unwelcome in any of the games it's implemented in. More often than not, you'll want to start the event modes, as they're shorter and they can be more profitable on the whole. But most days there's 20 energy worth of events, so you don't even have time to run in the campaign at all. It's just there to stonewall you and stop you from clearing the game's content too quickly. The sooner this practice in gaming dies, the better off gaming as a whole will be. Alright, got that out of my system. Let's talk about the inevitable one though, and I see this come up a lot in reviews of this game, and that is to say, the microtransactions. They exist. I mean, I acknowledge that they exist. As I mentioned earlier, I haven't paid a penny into this game. It's actually very normal for the game to reward the player at level ups and milestones with the gems that make up the game's premium currency. Heck, I'm clad in the gems-only gold armor and its gems-only platinum variant skin, and I did that just by playing the game a bunch. All of my gear is at least blue tier rarity or better, just because I fused together whatever odds and ends I could collect. And yes, I have on occasion used the option to watch an ad for extra coins and the odd periodic piece of stuff. But between the login rewards and just playing the game, none of it feels particularly intrusive. I mean, technically you could wail on the in-game loot boxes to become the most powerful slayer you could, but that's on you. The game's exclusively PvE. There is no competitive element to it, so if you do so, you're just doing that for your sake. I actually don't mind the way they did this. Sure, it could stand to be a little less intrusive, as the game does like shoving ads in your face when you first launch the game, but I've played worse. A rudimentary glance has a lot of people talking about paywalls and mandatory microtransactions, but, no. That's not a thing. Just play the game and you'll power up very steadily. I'm of the opinion if you really enjoy a game, tossing the dev a little dosh is not the biggest ask in the world. For what it is, I feel Mighty Doom is actually pretty fair in that respect. At the end of the day, it's a fun, if a bit brainless little roguelite about killing demons. If you're a cheap date like I am, that's a win for sure. If you're not really the type who can patiently grind up power in order to make a push for a very long-term goal like the rather beefy campaign mode, maybe this one isn't for you. But hey, the game's free. Give it a whack and see how you feel. Rip and tear, Slayers, until it is done. This has been the Slayer Snek. What do you guys think? Have you played this before I brought it up? Let me know in the comments what your favorite weapons are. I admit a fondness for the trusty rifle, super shotgun, ice launcher, and BFG. What can I say? I'm a sucker for the classics. And if you haven't already, glory kill those like and subscribe buttons. It helps me out a lot. And join me each and every week for more Let's Plays, reviews, and the home of the Tomodachi Bros podcast. Also available on a plethora of platforms, all conveniently listed in the description of every single video every single time. Join us here, and I will see you there.